Hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars in history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so and turn your notifications on so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into this video.
Amor, fuiste mi cruz, mi religión. Sigamos engañando al corazón.
Maria. She claimed out of her own mouth that she was going to shake up the morals of Mexico, and she sure did. She was proud of her femme fatale persona and loved the attention from it. She was unapologetic with the hate she would receive, and she basked in the love from her admirers. Mexico's own Maria Félix was a singer and performer in the spotlight. During the 1940s and 1950s, she became one of the most recognizable faces in Latin American cinema. Early in her career, she was labeled a diva due to her penchant for the finer things in life and strong personality, alongside being widely regarded as one of the most beautiful actresses of Mexico's golden age of cinema. She has starred in 47 films from Mexico, Spain, France, Italy, and Argentina. Félix served as a subject for the works of numerous famous artists during her lifetime. While filming Rio Escondido, Félix crossed paths with artist Diego Rivera, his wife Frida Kahlo, and Félix became close friends. A portrait of her by Rivera from 1949 was deemed extremely terrible by Félix when she claimed Rivera was in love with her and he painted her bare. She sold the picture to Juan Gabriel for 15 million pesos. When she was at the top of her game, the famous actress received an inappropriate proposal. Supposedly, a lustful King Farouk of Egypt offered Maria Nefertiti's crown, one of his most prized jewels, in exchange for one night of sensual favors. There's no evidence on whether she took that offer or not. I hope not. In her day, Félix was a huge star with incredible sway. Her fame was so great in Latin America that she personally petitioned Cuba's president to spare an inmate from the death penalty during one of her visits. He surprised everyone by actually granting her request. Christian Dior, Givenchy, Yves Saint Laurent, Chanel, and Balenciaga are just a few of the major houses who have dressed Félix. The couture division of the House of Hermes crafted opulent pieces for her. She was known for her extensive collection of antiques, particularly from the Second French Empire. She was also quite the jewelry collector, with pieces like the 41-carat D Flawless Ashoka diamond among her many treasures. She gave Cartier the go-ahead in 1968 to make her a serpent-shaped diamond necklace. The end product was a 178-carat platinum and white gold diamond encrusted serpent with moving parts. And in 1975, she requested another necklace from Cartier, this time in the form of two crocodiles. Eventually, she returned most of her Cartier jewelry for the company, and she also abandoned a Rolls Royce in the French capital. So she was wealthy. Since Félix's death, these jewelry pieces have been displayed as part of the art of Cartier collection in several museums around the world. To pay tribute to the actress, in 2006, Cartier debuted its La Donna de Cartier collection. The La Donna de Cartier collection also includes jewelry, accessories, and handbags. As far as her diet, Félix credits her longevity to God and describes a diet of stewed beans, nopal cactus, greens, and the Mexican fruit Inguica. Did y'all know though that she ate human flesh once and liked it? According to her own words, she was in the middle of filming the movie La Corona Negra when one of the notable Moors invited her to lunch. Not knowing about his cannibal taste, she agreed. She told the story in an interview with Rocha. This is a direct quote from her. Kike and I ate human flesh in a place in Morocco. We were filming The Black Crown and we were invited by one of those notable Moors, and this guy likes to eat human flesh. But I did not know, and he gave us to eat and I liked it, and it was something like sweetness, a strange meat. I asked and that's how they told me, human meat, end quote. At these statements, Rocha, who was shocked, asked her, "What did you do after?" And Maria Félix's answer was blunt: digest human meat. Yikes. She explained that if she had known the origin of the food, she would not have eaten that crap, but then you continued eating it after you knew the origin of it. I don't know. Within these statements, she implied that that was the first and only experience with human flesh, but later stated that the secret to her youthful skin was a meat juice she would request in Morocco, along with some vegetables. If you are Moroccan, can you comment below what this meat juice is? Is it like beef? because I don't want to assume, but always when you travel, ask questions before eating. Me personally, I ask questions anyway because my religious beliefs does not like permit me to eat certain things. So I always ask when they're like, try this, would you like to try this? But wow, comment below your thoughts. You think that the meat juice she used as her beauty secret consists of human flesh? Comment below your thoughts. Now let's get into her childhood and we'll get into all the other juicy details. Maria Félix was born in Alamos, Sonora, Mexico on April 8, 1914, but her birth was registered on May 4th. Her mother, Josefina Rosas, was from California, while her father, Bernardo Felix Flores, was a military commander and politician of distant Yaqui origin. She was one of 15 children. 15 children, all from the same mom and dad. Maria grew up being a tomboy with all her siblings. She loved roughing it around, riding horses, and climbing trees. Alamos was home for her entire childhood. She was quite close to her older brother Pablo when they were kids. She loved him so much and even called him a beautiful god. Because she feared her children were having an relationship, doing things together, her mother kept the two children apart. Because of this, Pablo was sent to a military college in Mexico City. This did traumatize Maria and made her bitter with her family. So we're gonna see just how bitter she gets towards the end of the video with her family, but this was the very beginning of it. The Felixes eventually settled in the city of Guadalajara. The attention Maria received for her attractiveness started when she was 17 years old. Among the students at the University of Guadalajara, she was chosen as the most attractive. She met Enrique Alvarez Alatorre, a salesman for Max Factor. Around this time, their courtship lasted only a short time before they tied the knot in 1931. Felix did not have a happy married life. Almost instantly after they jumped a broom, Alvarez underwent a complete personality shift. He was so jealous that he insisted she spent practically all of her time inside of the house because he didn't want men looking at her. One of the few things Alvarez actually gave permission for them to do was to go to the movies, but he would go into the movie after it started and the lights were off and then leave right before the credits just so people wouldn't look at her. How weird. Enrique, who was dubbed Kike, Felix's only child, was born that year, and unfortunately her marriage to Alvarez ended in divorce in 1937, but here's how it ended. Felix, who was sad and desperate, had an affair with her next door neighbor. She felt terrible shame because of her adultery until she discovered her spouse had done even worse. So basically he had several other mistresses of his own and caught a viral disease which he gave to her. And to her, that was the last straw and she ran for the hills. Felix moved back to Guadalajara with her family after getting a divorce, but now that she was a divorcee, she was the target of rumors and speculation. Felix and her son uprooted and headed for Mexico City as a result. She moved to Mexico City where she stayed in a guest house and worked as a receptionist in a plastic surgeon's clinic. Her son's father paid a visit and stubbornly refused to return his son to her. Felix was so serious about her threat to her ex that she began making moves to advance her position in Mexico City's elites. And at first she had a high society fling with the renowned filmmaker Ernesto Alonso, who took her on a date to a bullfight and gave her a pair of silk stockings as a gift. While she was out on the streets in Mexico City, one afternoon after work, she was approached by a director and filmmaker named Fernando Palacios, who asked if she was interested in working in film. He became her Pygmalion, bringing her into film industry circles and training her to be a star. Sometime later, she was brought to the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios in Hollywood, where she met Cecile B. DeMille, who promised to establish her film career in Hollywood, but Felix was uninterested. She opted to launch her career in the place she called home. At long last, it was thanks to Palacios that she was cast as the lead female in a film by Groves Productions, El Penon de los Animas, directed by Miguel Zacarias. And y'all gonna forgive me for the mispronunciations of this name because I am trying. She had a big role in a movie with Jorge Negrete, although he wasn't exactly a big fan of hers. In fact, Negrete was upset because Felix had taken the role from his girlfriend at the time, but either way, the rest was history. She went on to star in several films, some that weren't always moral. As Maria Felix herself said, "With these films, I became the #1 enemy of the Mexican family morals." Somehow I seduced the public, even those who criticized the conduct of my characters in the films. My legend began to take shape without moving a finger. The public imagination did everything for me," end quote. So it's safe to say that she loved her seductive image and loved the outrage she would often get from it. She went on to Europe and conquered and starred in films in Italy, Spain, and France, with her most important film being French Can-Can. Maria Felix was working in every industry except for Hollywood. She refused because they only offered her Indian roles, but even when they offered her femme fatale roles or leading roles, she declined also. After being offered the female lead and Duel in the Sun when she was in France by Hollywood, she declined and Jennifer Jones was cast in the role, and while Humphrey Bogart's offer to star in The Barefoot Contessa was tempting, she ultimately decided to film La Belle Otero in France instead, and Ava Gardner was ultimately cast in that role. And I did a breakdown for Ava Gardner already. You guys should check that out. Another beauty. In 1937, on the day after Christmas, tragically, her dear brother Pablo took his own life in Mexico City. To this day, Felix maintains that Pablo was a victim of murder and that she would never believe that he would take his own self out. As if Felix's divorce and sudden stardom and the loss of her brother weren't enough to deal with, her devoutly Catholic parents couldn't handle the pressure of their daughter's sudden fame, so they insisted that Felix stop acting, but she was fed up with caving to pressure and refused. Due to her refusal, her father cut all ties with her. Many of Maria Felix's admirers were unaware that she was actually bisexual. In the late 1950s, Felix met Friede, the notorious owner of a cabaret in Paris who had been romantically linked to stars like Marlene Dietrich. An intense love affair between the two women began. Friede and Felix's relationship lasted for over 5 years, with brief periods of forgiveness in 1952 and 1954, before a violent and irreversible breakup. After the breakup, Felix became so bitter that she sued her ex-girlfriend Friede for the return of some jewelry, claiming that she had stolen it. After her first marriage, Felix married 3 more times. Her first husband, Enrique Alvarez Alatorre, was a cosmetic salesman. They had 1 kid together, the actor Enrique Alvarez Felix. Here's a dark story, because remember how in the beginning we said he came and took her son from her? There's a dark, twisted rumor reporters reported on and stuff. At one point, she allegedly discovered her son in a white dress and a necklace, as reported by journalist Sergio Almazan. So according to this journalist, she became so enraged that she beat him unconscious. In retaliation, Alvarez took his son and left for Guadalajara. Felix's second husband assisted her in reuniting with her son years later. So I don't know. Do you guys believe that? I don't think so, being that she herself was bisexual and the alleged rumors with her and her brother. I'm gonna choose not to believe that that would be a tipping point for her son. I think the father spread that rumor so that, you know, he can get his son back. But comment below your thoughts. It just doesn't align with the way she lived. So I don't think I believe that. With Felix, men were swooning like crazy. Augustin Lara was the only big man she had in mind for herself. The songwriter charmed the actress with gifts of furs, jewels, and almost endless streams of well-known songs during their famous courtship. They were a true power couple. Maria had admired Lara since she was a teenager, but things turned bitter. Lara's envy was fueled by the fact that Felix, who was also attractive, was one of Mexico's biggest box office draws at the moment, and his jealousy grew to be too much, just like it had been with her first marriage. 2 years into their marriage, they decided to split up in 1947, and in 1948, Felix claimed that Lara tried to shoot her in a fit of passion because he was jealous of his ex-wife's fame and success. Even though he was able to avoid arrest, their relationship was severely damaged. She reunited with Jorge Negrete, her original leading man and fierce rival. Remember him in the beginning, that he claimed she stole the role from his girlfriend? And they reunited in 1953. It was after Negrete surrendered at my feet, as Felix said out of her own mouth. Yeah, she had game, because he did surrender at her feet, that the actress was able to forgive him and welcome him into her bed. They later married after just a few months, and Negrete had been ill for some time before the wedding with cirrhosis of the liver, and he passed away only at 42 years old, 11 months after their wedding. She caused an international scandal by showing up to the funeral in a stylish pair of pants. Felix had to escape to Europe to get some tranquility because the uproar was so loud. Apparently wearing pants to a funeral was a faux pas during those days. I don't know, if you're Mexican, comment below what the significance of wearing pants to a funeral would mean. And does that rule still apply, or is that something of the past? An old friendship with financier Alexander Berger sparked into a passionate romance that year. Their 18 years of marriage is an absolute miracle, especially for someone like Maria, because it was the longest time that she's been with anyone. Her mom passed away in 1974, and then a few months after, her husband Berger passed away from lung cancer. And she went into a depression after this. Felix's relationship with her son was pretty distant in his early years because she sent him to school abroad to discipline him. So that again kind of raises the question of, to discipline him, was it like a conversion school? There's been that rumors also in later life, but I just don't believe it. But then again, just to start a conversation in the comments, there are a lot of parents who themselves had tendencies who are bisexual or leaned one way but themselves didn't want to lean that way, and they kept it private. And when they saw that their kids were having those tendencies too, they would tend to be very harsh with their kids and disown them, because it was like their shame was being shown brightly through their children. They do say a lot of people who are so phobic tend to themselves have those tendencies, and we've seen a lot of those examples throughout history, right? So could that have been the case with her? She just didn't want that for her son, even though she had those tendencies and had relationships with women. Comment below your thought, because sending him away to discipline him kind of tinkered off those bells. And years later, Enrique returned to Mexico and started his own career as an actor in film and television. And many people screamed nepotism, that he was getting these opportunities because his mother was the great Maria Félix. But Félix denied this. Regarding her son, she said, "Enrique is a very gifted man with admirable common sense. He's my best friend. I have so much fun with him. He's not a mama's boy, as many believe. Self-employed, fight like being independent. He has his own career, his audience, his poster, and assumes his responsibilities without relying on me," end quote. The unexpected death of Enrique, as you can imagine, from a heart attack in 1996 affected Félix greatly. She spiraled after that, And Maria Félix died in her sleep on April 8, 2002, on her 88th birthday in Mexico City. So she died on her birthday. How iconic. She was buried in her family's mausoleum alongside her son Enrique and parents in Mexico City. And a skeletal version of Félix appears briefly in the 2017 Pixar film Coco as a guest at a party in the land of the dead. So when you watch Coco, know that Maria Félix is in there, but as a skeleton. Remember how I told you she was just bitter with her family? So when she died, she left nothing to them. And when they found out that nothing was left to like all her 15 siblings, and I don't know why. Maybe it was because of what happened to her brother. Maybe it's because when her father disowned her, they didn't stand up for them. We never know, and her family don't really speak up much about that. But they went ballistic when they found out nothing was left to them. Félix had amassed a huge fortune over the course of her career, but she instead entrusted everything to Luis Martinez de Anda, who was her driver and personal assistant. Frustrated and astonished, Benjamin, Félix's brother, lost his mind and falsely accused de Anda of murdering his sister so he could steal her money. In the end, the court ordered the exhumation of Félix's body to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that she had died of natural causes, and they found that she in fact did die of natural causes, and she just didn't leave nothing for y'all. That's sad. That's really sad, but we don't know. They did disown her, not necessarily the siblings, we don't know, but we know she was pretty bitter with her family. And even her first marriage, according to Maria, with the jealous husband, she did that to kind of like escape being under her family. So who knows? And a lot of people, that are celebrities, not even celebrities. I know some wealthy people that aren't celebrities, that have personal assistants and drivers and chefs, and they have housekeepers that are like their best friends. They're really close to those people. And one of my friends, he is really close to his driver, where that's like his best friend, And to have a driver also be your personal assistant, in Maria Félix's case, they know everything about you. They take you everywhere. Y'all spend a lot of time together. Y'all talk, and you know this person will be loyal to you. So it's not shocking to me that he inherited everything. I don't know why it's so shocking to so many people, because a lot of people did believe that was foul play, but it's not. If you get into those wealthy circles, you will see that a lot of these people, their personal assistants and their drivers, or their makeup artists, their hairstylists, those people tend to be their family, because a lot of them aren't around their family as much, or they had to cut off a lot of people, or they've been working with them for so many years. And we saw even with Ava Gardner, which I did a video for her housekeeper, she did not abandon her housekeeper. Even until death, she made sure she would be taken care of and had her famous friends look after them. She even made sure her dog would be taken care of. I love Ava Gardner. Y'all should go check her out. One of the most beautiful, dynamic women ever. But she had a black assistant also, a personal assistant, who was like her best friend. She would call her her sister. And she made sure, even though people were prejudiced to her, that she went everywhere with her, even in the whites only places. So someone like that, who had no kids, Ava Gardner had no children, Maria Félix lost her only child, who do you leave everything to? Your only family that was there with you, that ride or died for you, right? So comment below your thoughts on that. Always be kind to people and your siblings. I always say this, look out for your siblings. You never know who they may become, okay? But if you like the music you're listening to, the link is in the description. Support my brother. I love you guys so much. Thank you for always tuning in. Comment below who else would you guys like me to do a breakdown for, especially in Mexican golden age era of cinema. I already have a long list, so don't worry. But it'll be cool to see sometimes new names that I don't even know about, and I go discover and watch their films. And also check out my Latin American playlist of starlets that I've already done. I have playlists that are carefully organized of breakdowns that I've already done that you guys can go check out for different regions, different groups of people. So check that out. I love you guys. Until next time.